I was double muted just then. That should be working now. Yeah? Thank you, Omega Killer. I might have been talking for quite some time here. I purposely did my physical mute because it has a big red light on it to remind me that I was muted there. And it still wasn't enough. I really needed just a big thing in the middle of my screen that says you are muted. I should have done that. Somehow my Unity opening script did not work. So I was expecting Unity to be open for me already, and it is not. But maybe it is because of this. Hang on. Let's get across to here, and it looks like another Unity instance is running with this project open. So that would explain why it hasn't opened, I think. I hope. There it is. So I don't need you, Unity Hub. I didn't ask for Unity Hub to be open. Close that. Cool. Excellent. Well, let's get into it. It's a bit late, a bit of a late start, but it's also the weekend, so I could probably run a bit late here, and we'll be fine. So, without further ado, let me figure out what I was doing. I haven't, for this project, been keeping a sort of proper to-do list open. Just keeping it a bit more lightweight. It's not necessarily the most sensible thing to do, but yeah. It is good to mix things up, keep them interesting. But there's my to-do. Just a couple of to-dos as game objects. I need to add a UI for the robot editor, robot blueprint editor. And I need to compute robot costs. That's less important, I think. So yeah, I got to the point where I can go into these factories when a game is not running and set what parts those robots are going to have. So yeah, this time, why don't I get something on here that will get something going here that will let me basically attach parts there. I didn't put a sprite on these robo parts, did I? They've just got they've just got a name, mount point, and which actions they give you. Do I really want to make an editor for it yet? Or would I be better off having the routine editor based on that? Well, I need to do both, so it doesn't really matter if I... oops, that wasn't what I wanted to move. This one. Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. And just, this is not sensible, but I feel reluctant to start on this, the UI for part editor because it will take a bit longer to do. So let's just ignore that nonsense because that's all just psychology, and it's not good to let psychology mess with you what you actually do too much. So let me just make that UI. Now I'm just thinking about how I want to do it. I often end up with a lot of my UIs just in like screen space canvases. That doesn't always work amazingly. I think it's okay for like a main menu overlaying everything. But in this case, I think I want to put just like an actual panel. So we've got this thing here. And so I think I might just make a canvas in world space I probably already have a world space canvas, but that's fine. So this is a blueprint editor. Call that. So that's responsible for the blueprint. Robot blueprint. I'll make a script for that whole panel, for the whole canvas rather. Whole canvas. Yeah, I'll attach to the whole canvas. So there we go. So I'll get a blueprint editor going. Maybe just creating this script right now is so that I can do this, add a little bit of documentation. If you do much programming or know much about programming, you'll end up hearing about the solid principles, which are SOLID, and it's just a little acronym to remember the different things. What are these ones here? So single responsibility, principle. So that's like one reason for change. So this is like if you're making a module of code, whether that's a class, a function, or a module, something like that, you basically want it to have one responsibility, and that tends to mean that you don't end up with your stuff tangled together with all these overlapping responsibilities. And usually you don't get there on the first pass because you're sort of piecing things together, unless you sit down and do a bunch of architecture design up ahead of time. That's not usually how things work in real projects. And so then you'll end up refactoring things, like pulling out a system. And thinking in systems tends to help a lot with that in game development, because that's sort of the way that you end up with like a system that's responsible for one thing, instead of thinking in terms of like, oh, here's some UI and it's got like 4 different things in there, and end up with all the code for those things all mixed together. Open close principle. This is sort of about inheritance hierarchies. So is this as well. Liskov substitution principle. So that's about like when you make something, it should be open for extension but closed to modification. So that basically just means once you've written something, like write it in a way where you can extend it, but you don't have to go back and actually change the original thing, which could break other things that are depending on it. Okay, that's too much talking. You can look these up on like Wikipedia, but it can take a while to stack dependency inversion. That's things like not dependency inversion. An example of that is right here. I just started coughing because I'm talking too much, so I was going to stop doing that. But like in the factory, I just have these slots where I can just drop those things in here. So this factory doesn't actually care how these get in here. It's not going and finding them. So it's just saying what it needs, and there's some other way other than the factory itself to determine where those come from. That's sort of like dependency, a way of doing dependency inversion, but it's kind of like manual. I have to drag them in there, but yeah, and whatever the D1 is, don't remember. Anyway, I like to basically at least write what this is responsible for when I'm making a module, and that way that helps to kind of keep. It helps me to think about it, because I have to think about it to write it. And if it's going to be more than one thing, then I might just make 2 different modules up front. But even without that, it helps give me a reference for making sure that I stick to that single responsibility. And this is responsible for Yeah, the UI for Robo Blueprints. Meaning choosing parts, choose parts, choosing parts for mount points. So this is like multiple things, so it might end up being split up one day, but for now I'm okay with this. We're choosing parts for mount points and choosing upgrades. And the thing is that might be two two other components that get joined together. Java for backend. Now, some people say Java when they mean JavaScript, but if you're talking about Java, as in the thing that runs on the JVM, the thing that Minecraft is written in, then yes, C# is basically just a better copy of Java. Excellent. Yes. If you mean JVM, then yeah, it's the big difference between C# and Java as a language is that the C# developers are not afraid of syntactic sugar. So that's the main thing. They basically both work very similar way, like under the hood, not necessarily, but as far as like how you write the language, they work in the same way. They're strongly typed, strictly typed languages. I don't know what's happened with Java in the last I don't know how many years. Let's say about the last 8 years. I haven't really kept up with what's happening in Java, so they may have more syntactic sugar now. But basically, yeah, writing C# is a lot like writing Java, but yes, good old system out print line. But yeah, they're very similar. You just get more syntactic sugar in C#, and there are obviously many differences as well. Like Java runs on JVM, C# runs on CLR, Common Language Runtime, and so it gets Java gets compiled into Java bytecodes, and C# and all the .NET languages get transpiled into CIL, I believe. But basically C# and Java are probably the two most similar languages as far as how the syntax and inheritance and so on behaves that I'm aware of. Obviously, there's more, like your JVM languages all have to share the type system, which means that Java's type system kind of poisons everything else that gets written on there. But that's more comparing it to things like Haskell, where you don't have to deal with nulls all the time because you don't have this implicit thing that every single type is implicitly nullable. I think C# also can have non-nullable types in it, which is nice. And C# you actually get basic types in Java. Like every single thing is boxed, I think, automatically. Whereas I'm not using system, that's why I haven't got integer. There we go. So yeah, we can have like an int32. So yeah, in C# you actually get these basic types that are not boxed. I think in Java everything has to be an object. So you kind of pay that overhead. regardless. I could be misremembering. It's been a while since I did anything with Java. I mainly got sick of the verbose syntax, and when I was doing when I was learning Haskell and starting to play around with functional languages, there was a lot to be desired, and like C#'s not perfect, but I just would reach for that before Java any day, unless the specific situation called for something to run on JVM. It wouldn't necessarily be my first choice of language, but it's my first choice for the languages that run on to write with Unity. Since it's I do like a good type system. It's like adding TypeScript to JavaScript makes it a lot better, because it means your tooling can actually help you, because it can know what things are. I was writing Ruby a while ago, a couple of years back, and it took a while to get used to the syntax. I got used to that, but what I could never really get comfortable with was the fact that even the best tooling that you could use, it would never quite be sure and confident what type of thing you're dealing with because of the dynamic loose typing. I don't know if I'm technically using loose typing correctly there, but you could never kind of be confident about what type of value you're dealing with, and that basically just means you have to manually test and think about all of those extra cases. The same as not handling or having types that are implicitly nullable that could be null at any time, means you have to. That gives you another thing to think about. Oh, sweet! I got some support from some. Thank you for the love. I enjoy love. It is a good thing to have more of in the world. Speaking of love, I love making games, so let's make this game work. So yeah, I'm basically I got a little sidetracked there. I hope all of the stuff that I'm saying is useful. Ask more questions if you've got them. I'll talk as much as I can handle before my throat decides it's had enough and starts protesting. And I should also get if anyone knows how to make YouTube chat make noises when people send messages, that would be fantastic. I've figured out, like, I've got like a hacky workaround that gives me Twitch chat sounds, but I think I might just not have looked it up yet for YouTube, because I tend to miss the messages over there, and I could just like put the chat in the middle of the screen, and that would be no, let's leave it for now. I'll get the magnifier going over here too, because I like how that just gives me the ability to point at stuff and have it show up in better resolution. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be this thing. That's all I need there, I think. So click back on here and we'll get, is that making the system laggy, having that magnifier there? I don't know. There we go. Actually, if I put that, right, what have I got here? I've got this. If I put that there, no, magnifier is always on top. So that's no good. Just thinking I could put the title bar of the magnifier behind. Maybe I can hide the title bar of it. No option for that, just there. I will spend no longer on that. So I've got my canvas, and I should be able to put that blueprint editor script straight on there so I don't forget later. Pop it up there. And now I want to make sure that canvas is in the right thing. I want that to be in world space. I will put that at 0, 0 to start with here. And let's give it a width that is not insane now because that's like a screen pixel width. We're looking at about 8. 8's a good number. And it always reminds me of the Stanley Parable. Wait, is it the or a Stanley Parable? Let's maybe make it sit right in here. So I've got like half a unit of grid around there. Something like that might be a good size. So I'll just get these numbers going to exact half units. 8.88, so that's probably like 9. 7.06, it's about 7. Okay, there we go. So I've got that, and I think what I want on here is an image. Let's go for a panel first, actually. Wow, this is treating one unit as one pixel, so that's why these are looking like super blurry on here. Yeah, we can name that one panel for now. And so I think, yeah, I've got that stretching to fit in the canvas. But what I might do is scale it, say 110, 100 times. I think is that I need to have, see, scaling that up 100 times. Oh, it still looks horrible. No, let's not do that. The opposite, I think. So I need to make it just like centered. And that way I can have a width and height. And so let's, instead of 9, we'll do 900 instead of 700. And then we'll scale it down to 1/100th. There we go. So there's that little canvas down here. And that's our panel. Scaled down nicely. So now we've got nice little rounded corners there. And I don't know to what extent I actually need to have an opaque background, but I will make it a bit more opaque. And I'll keep it partly slightly transparent. We can always tweak that later. And then this sprite, we actually need an image instead. So we'll grab our image, and this is the background. So the background is not exactly the background. This is the robot with attachment points. It is the background, though, of the parts mount points. Mount point diagram. There we go. And we'll just grab sprites 19 there. I wonder if I can rename the sprites in here. Like, I think it gets the name from the file name. I don't have a rename option. I wonder if that would be in here somewhere. Is that like, I just select this, and here, it's actually got a name, yeah. That's something I haven't really done much. I wonder when I reslice it if I'll lose that. I'm not going to go through and change all of these. I'll actually change this one and then do a little test, reslice it. So this is mount point diagram. There we go, and I'll play. So now it's Oh yeah, there we go. It's not in order anymore because it has a name and it's probably alphabetical. But that's cool. Close that and just apply that here. Now I'm going to go and reslice my sprite. And we'll do that. Method delete existing. Yeah, I'm going to select delete existing, hit slice with the default names. Okay, so let's not do that. Let's just see if there's, I'll just actually purposely create a new sprite just so there's another one there. I've got my magnifier in my way now. If I move that across, still a little in the way. I'll just smallen this. There we go. So this one will be, I don't know, a thing. What do I need next? I need a different set of legs, don't I? Just quickly make that. So, yeah, copy that, go over here, paste that over, and I've actually pasted that as a new thingy. So I'll delete that one. And so I'm going to need a couple of pairs of legs, right? Because there'll be the default legs and the budget legs, and then others in the future. But how do I want the basic ones to look? They could look like that. Oh, that's right. I was going to do a wheel, wasn't I? So that. Let's just get the brush and grab that color and some of that, and I'll just make like a. So I'll do a circle. I'll just do it about that size. Don't even wait. I'm going for a slightly top-down perspective, so I'll do it like that, and just put that there. Also, and I'll actually just erase like the legs, bit of the legs here, and a bit of that middle bit. Keep that bit. This will just make it easy to get it lining up on there. And just go with some kind of really basic thingy here. I'm going to do it like a bike wheel, sort of with spokes, just to make it look particularly useless. And that is not the brush tool. It doesn't matter if the spokes are particularly like even or straight, because it's kind of funnier if they're not. Because you've gone for the budget legs, you get what you pay for. Now, what have we got here? Just let's bring that in there like that. I might make that thicker. I'll add an extra layer of a line around. So just go like up by one from there. Yeah, it looks a little wonky, which is fine. And that'll do. Almost. These pixels just here are bothering me, so. Room for improvement, but this is just so that I have another sprite to play around with. Let's do that. And let's see. Now I'll see, can I get that new sprite sliced in here, grid by cell size, and without deleting existing. What's safe do? Smart or safe? Try smart. Attempts to create new sprites while retaining or adjusting existing ones. Sure. Sounds good. I sliced it. I applied it. I still have that one named. So that's fantastic. I think I'll just quickly name these now, since I should be doing that. Like it'll just make it easier to work with. This is my old robot. This is the oh cool, we got a Shazam. That was 5 minutes ago, so my reflexes are a little off. Right, Saini Interactives, I saw you last stream, I believe. Now, what's this one? This is the routine track. Yep, that'll do, routine track. This is the forward. I might prefix that with icon. Walk forward. Because then we've got these guys, icon. Turn left. Icon, turn right. Icon, shoot laser. This is factory. We'll just get this other icon done. Block. And this is laser beam. Laser beam 1. Oh, thanks. A compliment on the beard. I actually washed it today, so I won't comment on how long it had been since the last time, because I don't actually remember. It's just, it's winter, so I was getting a bit too much soup building up in there. Good for an emergency food supply, though. That robot will need its legs off. I'll need to separate the robot and the legs so that I can have this wheel on there. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. The old Kung Fu Master beard, yes. I think it wasn't until I started to get to the point where parts of me start hurting for no reason that the beard started growing. Not started growing at all, but just started being worth not shaving off. But the trick to it, though, is just get really busy. So you can do things like have a full-time job, be a parent, have a partner, live in a neurodivergent household, various things like that. Own a home. Yeah, just get really, really busy. And then you forget to shave for long enough that you just look in the mirror one day and go, well, at this point, I might as well just keep that. And then you just keep doing that. You think, oh, yeah, I'll get it trimmed eventually. But if you're busy enough, then you'll have like 6, 12 months go by without it seeming like that long. And so you don't have to be very patient to grow the beard. Yes, being a Viking is fun. This game is about robots, which, well, you can probably guess that much, but so far you can basically just tell the robots to do some things. That's what these icons are, the things you can tell them to do. You program them with a routine in the factory, and then they'll spawn from the factory with that routine and just follow it. And you basically just try to destroy all of the opponent's factories. It's still kind of prototype stage right now, so you can actually just select the opponent factories and control them as well. They are at least tagged as enemies. That's the laser, and this is the budget. Legs. Laggy? That's how you spell legs. Yes, I just threw all these together. The explosion one is probably the one that I've taken the least care with, so there you go. Maybe my attention to detail is just destroying the natural whatever. I didn't make that whole sentence before I started saying it. But maybe I'm fiddling with it too much and ruining it. Like George Lucas when he got too much of a budget. Oh yeah, I could add a face on there. Yeah, this is not contributing at all to making the game, but wait, where's the explosion? Because I actually have it, it's just there. Okay. It's like 16. There it is. Just put that over there. And now what have we got? This is layer 1, layer 2. Just gonna go cut that out of there, paste it there, and then can go down here, grab like maybe this and this. Look, if everyone's having fun, then it's time well spent. So hold on, we gotta hide this layer. Then we can draw a face, some face things. What do faces have? Stuff. That's oh yeah, I should. There we go. That's a thing that a face has, right? Sensors, light sensors. Let's go with the green because green is good. Excellent. These are shaping up pretty well. Let's go with that. And okay, what else do we need? Weapons. Weapons. Let's go with this color. Needs weapons. On here. Is it gold or just really poor hygiene? You decide. And then I'm just going to go like that. Perfect. Ah, beautiful. And we also need a atmospheric chemical sensing system. So we'll add one of those in. And that's looking beautiful. Okay. And now we'll just bring this back. And needs rotating, doesn't it? Or like a haircut. Can I rotate this? If I go into moving mode, slicing. Interesting. I don't remember if I have a rotate tool. Let me just hold down keys until something looks like it works. Nothing. That's fine. I'm just going to do a haircut on this. Looks nice, hey? Well, there we go. I'm better at art than I thought. Let's do like that, and I'll get just... There we go. The haircut has fixed it. Fantastic. I'm going to leave that there, and then I'll forget about it, and then I'll get to see it again later. All right. I need a name for that guy. Yeah, Aspro been pretty fun to play around with. Cool. Look at the explosion just there. So when I'm importing the sprites here, yes, please. Let's apply all that. So where are we? Where's my inspector? Oh, this is over the top. So apply that, and so on. So because I'm doing pixel art here, I want to actually see the pixels. And the trick to that is don't give it like a bilinear filter or something like that, because it blurs everything. It'll kind of like try to give you, oops, that was too much zoom. It'll try to give you the average in between the pixels. And that is just, looks horrible. So you just go in and do a point filter so that it'll just like basically scale up the pixels, and then you get the nice crisp pixel edges on there, which is nice. Okay, I need to delete this sprite behind here, get this thing going. Let's just like, what do I want to hold? Not Control, Alt, Shift. Shift is what I want to hold here to make this thing scale evenly. I haven't decided or thought about how to make this all work, but I think maybe something along the lines of like the robot here, a list of parts down the side that you can just maybe drag onto it, and maybe with each one showing like the attachment point shape, so I don't need any sort of text to describe that. And then I can sort of jam the upgrades over here somewhere. So something like that might work, which means I'll need some drag and drop, which I got working for these things down here. So I can just try and do the same kind of thing. What's the appearance of this stuff going to be? Oh, someone's not disposing of things properly, apparently. Oh, I've got way too much stuff here. Object preview, interesting. Oh, I don't think that's my code. That's coming from something in Unity. I just either did something naughty or somebody coded something wrong. Yeah, so to have drag and drop, these guys, every time I say that, I think of a dragon and some kind of drop happening with that. So I did those with, I believe I have a script on these guys that will do drag, allow dragging, and then on here I've got a script that will allow these to take a drop event. So I think it'll be the same thing there. Drag and wrap, interesting. I don't hear that, but that could just be my accent. All right, I think I need a few things here, and I might just write a list of them. Where's a good place to put a list of those? here. Let's just make some empty game objects that represent the different things I'm going to make. So I'm going to have a mount point, and that will be a thing that like sits over a mount point, like it's just somewhere in the vicinity. As long as they're not overlapping, it's fine. And that'll be the drop point, so it'll have to accept a drop. And then we'll also need a thing which is going to be the parts manifest or something. And that'll be like the thing over here that has parts in it. Maybe it'll be scrollable or something. And inside that, it's going to have a bunch of things that are a part, which would have like the name or picture of the part, and that would have the drag and drop code on it, perhaps. So you can drag that to one of the relevant parts. I might even have these mount points. Once you pick up a part, they could glow or change color or something to indicate that they're an appropriate drop point. And it might be that the parts have like a sub part that's draggable. I'm not sure, but that's basically the different types of things that I'll need in there. So let's, this is not the right directory. Let's grab scripts here and make more. These are all sort of the UI. I'm going to put these in a folder. So this is Blueprint Editor UI, and pop that into there. Just getting a few too many scripts here to just leave them all floating around. And just wait for things to load. This was going to be called mount point. And create another one. This is going to be a river part. Let's call it card, because I've already got things called tiles. An error occurred in MISC files. Yes, that happens when you move the file that was open. Now we play the waiting game, which we'll just pretend it's fun since we get to play it so much. Oh, interesting. Are you sure it does? Have you tried re-importing it? This is a difference between Java and C#, by the way. So this is where I moved Blueprint Editor, but Visual Studio hasn't quite caught up, or somewhere along the lines it hasn't quite caught up with the fact that the old one is removed, because it was actually moved, unless I thought I moved it, but I didn't. Do we still have? Yeah, we still got Blueprint Editor just here. Who put that there? And the other one, this one in here, that's a new one. Like it's an empty script. Yeah, we delete that. But you'll notice that it wasn't saying that it was complaining about the class already being defined, but then it was also complaining about there already being the update method in there. And that is because in C# you can define a class or a module across multiple files, which is interesting. I don't tend to do it much, but I'm sure there are use cases for that. It allows you to, it gives you syntactic sugar to make a bolt-on extension for something that you don't control necessarily as well. So you can basically write what's effectively a pure function, but attach it to the class and use it as though it is a member of that class. But really it's just a function that takes in an object of that class. So you don't get access to the private members of the class, but it can be very useful because you can just go, yeah, I wish I had a method on an array that gave me every second item because I need to do that all the time for this particular project and use case, or whatever it is. I forget what I've used it for, but I've used it for things in the past that I wanted to do. And it's just, syntactic sugar, but it makes it so much easier than, it's just much nicer to read because you sort of use it consistently. Anyway, enough ranting about C# being better than Java. I haven't used Java in a while, so I can't 100% say that that's still true. Anyway, what am I doing here? I've gotten sidetracked here. So, yeah, I'm going to clear this console error in case it's an old one. No, it's not. Mount point, really? Did I already? I've got mount point here and in there. I haven't done anything with it, so they should both just be. Oh, right, okay. No, I just named this wrong. It's a mount point UI. And interesting. It's just occurred to me, since I already have draggable and droppable things down here, I might want to look at just reusing that code. I'm going to need to open this. And so this file is called mount point UI, but I need that to also be renamed. Okay, now what did I call these guys in the routine editor? There's the routine editor canvas. So these things are called command brush, and these things are called track step. So I should get those into a routine editor UI folder as well. And then I should be able to put the routine editor and those other things, track step and command brush. Just put those into there. Good. Then Visual Studio will be disappointed that I moved those things. So let me just try opening a command brush. That'll have the first bit of my drag and drop. This is the draggable thing. So you can see I've got all these drag handlers, all these interfaces that allow the bits of drag and drop that I want to work. I choose begin drag, drag. Let me just collapse those so I'm not going all over the place. End drag. I also have start and update that I'm not using at all. Yeah, so I'll just have a quick look at the code, but I'm suspecting there might not be too much here that needs reusing. Yeah, I guess I can reuse that bit. That's kind of very hacky. I can maybe fix that up. And that's, yeah, actually, this is all kind of just reusable. This is, I think, completely unnecessary stuff that I was doing here, because I might just be able to set it to the mouse position rather than compute how much of an offset it has. So yeah, it was interesting code to write anyway. And then drag end. Yeah, this looks like completely reusable to the extent possibly that I should just give this a different name. Because I can just use this as a generic draggable thingy. Let's grab the other thing, which is not open right now. Track step. This one's probably going to be a bit less reusable because it's got stuff to do here. Like it's looking to check if that was a command brush that got dropped on it. So that's the bit of the code that would stop these things, or the things from up here being dropped down here from actually doing anything. That would not need to be a warning if I know there are other things like that. And this would be different because we're not in the routine editor. So yeah, I think we need a custom thing there, but this command brush really just needs to be, well, this bit is relevant, and that's being looked up from somewhere else, but everything else is not. So let's just extract all this code into its own separate place. No, that's not what I wanted. I wonder if having that collapse that way was responsible for that happening. You're giving me a suggestion here. Down here, generate overrides. Some other stuff. What are you? Don't mind me, I'm just taking a bunch of time to select things over and over again. There. We need all that stuff. And then, is that now? Okay, it's wherever I had the cursor positioned. Yeah, it looks like nothing right here for that. So I'll just do this a different way. Okay, take all that stuff. This is another difference between Java and C#. In C#, in Java, you have to have one class per file, and that's a good idea to have. But in Java, it is the law, or at least the last thing I knew it was. Whereas in C#, you can, if you've got a few tiny classes. You don't have to you don't have to put them in separate files. You can just put things in one file if that works better for your particular case. I like to use linting to keep things fairly consistent with things like that, but allow for some flexibility where you can make things a bunch better. So I can't use that. And there we go. So let's do the name instead. That should be at least still useful. What's your problem here? That is a weird thing to have auto imported when there's already a transform in Unity Engine. Yeah, cool. So this, I think we can also say like this requires a draggable thing. I'm probably not going to leave this called draggable thing. Probably rename that right now. In fact, to like draggable icon or something. And the great thing about, even if it's not a good idea to cram a bunch of classes into a single file, it means you can just do this and it works fine. And when you're ready, you can just move it to its own file and you're fine. Everything's good with the world. So, yeah, basically, I think Microsoft tends to have been, I haven't checked lately, but in general, they've had a pretty good attitude towards developer productivity, whereas Java's sort of tends to be very bureaucratic, I think, in how things are done because of the this magnifier is offset because of the fact that it is open source and there's a lot of fingers in the pie, I think. That sounds ruder than it is meant to be. Something like that. Okay, so draggable icon. This is not specific to the routine editor UI, so I'm going to move that. Oh, that's not where I wanted it. Did I put it here? Or did I put it here? Yes, I put it here. So let's just move that again. And we'll mess up everything. According to Visual Studio. Just this moment. Oh. So how am I going for time? Yeah, I'm running later than usual. I started a lot later than usual. So I do not want to stay up super late, but I might just put this on, give myself about an hour and see what I can get done in that time, because I'm going to be getting tireder and tireder, and catching up on sleep would be maybe a good idea. So if you hear that thing ring, I'll probably miss it and then keep going for an extra 3 hours, but that is when I intend to finish up. So where are we here? So I've got this draggable icon there now, that's good. And apparently that's the one that isn't still there. And I won't change this code for now, but there something in there that wasn't amazing. Like on begin drag, we're getting we're basically capturing the original position and parent so that we can, and sibling index, so we can put it in the right spot. And then this is the bit that we don't really probably want to do. But yeah, we're basically trying to put it directly on the canvas instead of there. And so really we want to know what canvas it's on. And that might be something that we can just grab in a start method. Oh, just do that to keep that good. What's the deal there? All right, I'm not using all that stuff because the code was messy and I have not cleaned it up yet. No problem. It's not the kind of code that it matters much. If it's working, it's not that likely to be updated. Okay, what am I doing? I'm doing a start. Just there. I was hoping pressing enter would get me what I want. There we go. All right, and I want to capture something here. And that is going to be used to set transform.parent. So it needs to be a transform. And that is, I believe, the containing canvas. Or whatever, parent, ancestor. The ancestral canvas. Now, how do we... Is it first? There's one thing that searches up the tree. Let's just Google that rather than mess about. Okay, looks like everything's looks like I'm maybe frozen. Are we back? Okay. Are we still streaming? Looks like it. Cool. System got sad for a moment there. Got sad when I opened this. So I hope the stream wasn't completely dead for that time. But it looks like we're basically still up. Yes, so I was just going to Google Unity, find parent containing canvas. Yeah. It might be possible to find that some other way. Get component in parent. So what does get component in parent do exactly? Okay, this is a component of the matching type. Gets a reference to a component of type T on the same game object as the component specified, or any parent of the game object. Now that sounds like it might mean any, like ancestor, but that's ambiguously worded. I mean, they only have one direct parent, but parent may be used to refer to any parent or parent of parent and so on up the tree, which I would call an ancestor. Yeah, then recurses. So this method checks the game object on which it is called first, then recurses upwards through each parent game object until it finds a matching component of the type specified. So that's perfect. And this is actually important in this case. Only active parent game objects are included in the search unless you call the method with the include inactive parameter set to true. Now, I think I want this because what's going to happen is this UI here is going to be closed probably by default. Like there'll be a button here or something to open that editor. So that'll probably be, that canvas will probably be inactive. And so I do want to include things, find component. It's a get component in parent. Did I just forget what it's called? Here we go. So the type that we want. Oh, this is interesting. I was going to get a transform, but actually we can't get the transform directly because every parent will have a transform. So we want to get a canvas. And then we want to get the transform because every component has got access to the transform. That'll fail if you put this not on a canvas. So it would be slightly better to like introduce a local. It'd be nice if I would just get all of the refactors available. Here we go. Ready to go. Introduce a local. But not for that whole thing, actually. Transform one, sure. Just for this bit. Oh yeah. I was just thinking, like, to make it not fail. Is that the null coalescing for C#? Should not use null propagation. That's interesting. Why? Tell me about it. Unity overrides the null comparison operator for Unity objects, which is incompatible with null propagation. Okay. That makes sense then. Cool. So, yeah, that means just do not do it that way. So this is essentially an operator that says, rather than throw an exception when I'm trying to access a member of something that is null, instead just don't do that. Just give us null instead. But we don't want to do that because that is bad to do. So here we introduce our local for our canvas. Another good thing about C# versus Java is you can use the var keyword, and it's still strongly typed. It just infers what the type is based on what you're putting there, which can just be a bit quicker to get things up and running, and then you can just do that to replace it. So, where am I here? So, yeah, we can just put that behind an if. If canvas is not equal to null, do this thing. Don't worry about putting parentheses. In fact, let's just put these on the same line. Do I have a join lines thing? No, apparently not. That doesn't matter. Just use my buttons. There we go. So now if there's a, oh, and I didn't do that thing that include an active true. There. So that's using the include inactive form. Yes, excellent. So now that'll work even if the canvas is disabled because that's hidden. And did I already update that to use Ancestor Canvas? No, I did not. There. So that should now work. Now I've got a reusable, draggable icon here, and this command brush requires that we have one of those on there. So now if I go to these command brushes, or go to the prefab for command brush, UI command brush. Is this, what's the deal here? What is wrong with this thing? 0 width and height. Turn left icon on the image. Who knows what's going on with this? But oh, there we go. Look, we have a automatically added draggable icon script. So that was nice of it to do that. So that should be fine. I guess if I'd looked, I would have seen the draggable icons on all of these. So it basically just split up the code, and the code wasn't related. The only thing that this bit is used for is from the track step to look up this command action. So that's good. And I guess I could have put the sprite in here too, and had some code to set that sprite automatically, but I've just done that by hand. And I only really need one of each, so I might keep doing that. We'll see what happens when I'm updating what's available depending on your selections here, because you'll open up new things if you put on a part that that supports those new actions. Okay, so pressing on. So now basically this parts manifest, this part here, which I think I named. Wait, I put the mount point script on there? No. Just bouncing around all over the place here. Okay, we've got mount point UI. That goes there. And we've got the part here, so we'll get our RoboPart card and just rename that to RoboPart card as well. That's going to have some UI to it as well. I think so will the mount point, just the ability to have basically this thing on it and have it highlight. I might even just add a simple sprite, put a rectangle there that becomes less transparent when it's when something is being dragged that is relevant. Okay, so that RoboPart card should. Let me just get that open. And we'll have that require component draggable icon there. Okay, so I'll go back to my card here. So basically, I'm going to build one of each of these and then make a prefab from that. So that is that. Now it requires draggable icon now, but it doesn't have it. But I'll just add that on there. And let me just check in this draggable icon script. It is getting an image, so it has to have an image component on there. So just thinking, so I have to have the thing that reports what type of object was dropped be on the same object that is dragged and dropped, which will be whatever has the image, because that will be the raycast target. Now, what parts have we got? Let's just grab the laser. There's a part here. And what are my objects? Options. What are my options here? Can I preserve my aspect ratio in there? Yes. Raycast padding. What does that do? I would guess that that means that I could make it have only this bit as the target. Now I'm kind of wishing that I'd drawn that bigger. But that's okay. Can I set native size? That has adjusted this, hasn't it? Has it? Undo. So I basically want it to look this big, but only have that part of it. It's probably possible to have my sprites overlap, which could work. What's trim do? Probably nothing. Can I draw a new sprite? Like, I don't want to do that. Can I just like draw something, move that here, and then have this defined as a sprite? I mean, not that I'm using it in a way where the full 64 pixels matters, really. So, by the way, I haven't seen anything come up in chat for a bit. I'm not sure whether something got broken when the system locked up a little bit. So, if anyone is sending anything in chat and it's not showing up, apologies for that. And I'm not sure how I would check that exactly. Don't know why I just randomly thought of that. Let me get back over here. Yeah, I think I would have seen messages come through from. Seems working. Okay, awesome. So YouTube is definitely working, and I can tell Twitch because I've got another thing here that would have worked on. So now I have, it's not really a close-up, is it? It's just a shrink wrapped. Let's call that. And apply, there we go. So now I have laser and laser shrink wrapped. And for this one, I can choose the other one. And there we go, got a laser. And it seems like a decent size, and I've still got that on preserve aspect. Yep, otherwise it would be stretched up like that. So that's good. Looks like we've got a thing, and it should be draggable. So if I hit play here, we should be able to drag that. Oh, hello there, little robot. Yep, seems to be dragging, and it's going behind there, which is a bit janky, but I mean, it shouldn't really drag outside of its own canvas anyway. So that would probably be another reason to just set the position to the mouse position, but clamp it within the bounds of the canvas, or what's visible on there. But if I drop that on that mount point, what I should see in here is nothing because I haven't written any code for that. I'm going to take some of this logging out of here. Actually, I'll stop that running. Here. We don't want that right now, because that's all been working. Binding, activating. That looks like that should get all of those. Okay, so I'll just clear. Oops. Let me just clear the console by switching over to the project view. Right, so done messing with sprites. I've got a thing I can drag. Now I need somewhere I can drop it. So there's going to be this mount point, which means that we'll need to edit this mount point script. Is there a thing I can go edit script here? Does that? Yeah, that does that. Nice. So this is basically, yeah, UI. Mount point. Responsible for accepting a drop of a part and show, like, highlight mouse point, sure. Mount point when compatible. Item is dragged. I guess in opposite order, but this is the most important one. This will just inform the parent thingy, which is the blueprint editor. So that's all it needs to do. So I guess what we're going to have here is it'll have needs to know what kind of mount point it has. Yep, that should possibly be called mount point type, since that's what it is. So I might change that sometime, but I also might not. Works. So what do we want to do here? I really got to update those script templates with some custom ones that don't tell me stuff I already know. And alrighty, so it's got what type of mount point it is, and that's something we'll also need in the RoboPart card. That's going to need to have a it's going to have a thing. I'm just pausing for a second. These RoboParts, they have the mount point. They have the part name. That's to look it up in the robot, but I might do it a different way. I'll probably end up having a prefab instead. They might want to have a display name. But anyway, it's going to be one of those. It's going to be a RoboPart, actually. And that goes there. And yeah, I think what I'm going to end up with is just having all of the possible parts here in this list. I was just thinking about doing it in like a data-driven way of some sort, where I have all of these just get slapped up into a array, and then I generate all of these things. But it'll probably end up taking longer to set up than just do it by hand, and then I can just filter that list. If at some point I want to have a limited set of these options, but that might be like version 2 of this, and this is version 1, so I'm not going to implement anything that would be for version 2. Okay, so they have a RoboPart, and they may just end up being a dumb container for that. That doesn't need to actually do anything beyond that. So the other thing is the picture, the sprite image. That's not part of the RoboPart, but it is something that could probably be looked up if these have an image on them. So if I say these require a image, that's from UnityEngine.ui. That's not how you spell using. UnityEngine.ui. Okay, and then we'll basically can have a, so I want that to be public so that it can be, yeah, I could make a property for that RoboPart, like a read-only property. That's what I'll do actually. So that's private, and then we'll have a property. Oh, hi GorillaMod, welcome. I've once again stayed up later than, well, this time I was okay with staying up late because I started the stream really late. And so, excellent. Good to see another regular. How long ago was that high from? Just now. Excellent. I actually noticed something when it happened. So I'm basically making this UI for editing which parts are on which attachment points, which mount points on the robots. And so I'm just kind of writing some of the pieces for that at this point. What's that going to be? This is going to be the sprite. Oh, no, sorry. This is, I'm writing this property. Is that okay to do? Like it looks like this is overloading that name, right? But this is always accessed as a member of the Robobat card that it's on, so it doesn't actually cause a problem. All right, the other thing we need is that source image out of there, and so we require an image component, and then in start, what we can do is just get that image component. And we are getting the sprite. Looks like it's called sprite. And so I'll make another thing here, which is going to be so that's sprite. Yeah, it's called a sprite. So sprite. Sprite. Yeah, I'll give it a get in a private set, and so then that's whatever you call it. It's like auto-backed thingy, and yeah, that's like this does nothing. So what are you writing it for? Message, and the reason is because I want to do that. Well, it's still not ambiguous. That's nice. Because there's equals there. If I went like this, then it would go, oh yeah, that's must mean the type because of that there. Yeah. You probably won't find that in Java. I guess. Java tends to be. Why did I start making a robot game? Yes, the answer is because I thought of an idea for a robot game. And I felt like prototyping it. So that's the long and short of it. I do have a family tree sort of puzzle game that I intend to get back to. I was kind of just thinking, oh yeah, I'll just spend a couple of streams, throw together this prototype. But I've ended up making it a bit longer. And now I have like 2 other game ideas that I've thought of since I started working on this that I'm really keen to work on. I really need to just like win the lottery so that I can do this like full time, and then I'll be able to maybe get prototypes put together as fast as I come up with ideas almost. Although maybe not, because I would come up with more ideas if I didn't have so many distractions. I like them too. Yes, there was black or this color, and black is like it's just black, and you only live once. Why would you wear black headphones unless they were the only ones with good sound quality? Yeah. Oh, and there's another game I remembered an idea from before, which is another robot one, but that's basically. It's sort of based on, if you've seen Neon Genesis, one of the episodes that built like some kind of nuclear-powered giant robot, and then we're not able to stop it. So it's basically piloting a giant robot, and you have a mission that's not that complicated. It's just like, yeah, walk along here, turn left, go along there, shoot that thing, and you're done. But things keep malfunctioning on it. So it's a big robot. All the parts of the robot are sort of connected to the cockpit with whatever connections and parts along those connections, and anything along the way can malfunction. So then you might have one of the legs have its actuator stop working properly. So then you start walking in a circle or curving. So then you've got to climb out of the cockpit, climb down on this moving robot, and get that working again. Or maybe the weapon just starts firing, and then you've got to go stop that from happening. And then go back and get the controls working again before it walks into a house or something. So that's another one, which is not this one, but I'll get to it eventually. But the one I'm most keen to make at the moment, I thought of is sort of a medieval fantasy, like high fantasy setting, sort of landlord game, where you've essentially been banished, some kind of lord, but you've been disgraced and sent off to establish an area just at the edge of where all the adventurers go to the dangerous place and do their adventuring. And you need to you've got a little character, run around and just sort of build up the infrastructure and make places for people to live, and you have different types of trades people move in, and so then you charge them rent and have them come in, and then a bunch of adventurers constantly on the way past who can buy and sell things to give you an actual economy going on, and constant threat of attacks from monsters and stuff. Lots of opportunity for little stories and things in there. All right, so what do we got? We've got these things that are publicly accessible, so that should be everything that's needed when this thing gets dropped onto a mount point. So the mount point, then it's looking for a RoboPart card to be dropped on it. I'm just going to go to the track step, and it's going to do some of that same stuff here. Oh, interesting. Yes, because that's all that stuff. On drop is what I want. And I want it to be an iDrop handler. So and I'm sure we'll use these eventually, but let's not for now. Okay, and this we don't want. We don't want the actual contents of this necessarily, because we're doing other stuff. But I might want a little bit of it. Just doing this sibling index. But actually, I can put mount point type here. And these probably will also have a specific, like, left and right arm. I might need to get another enum, because I got the type of mount point, which is like an arm, so you could put a laser on one or both, like either or both arms. But I could just limit it to one, so you can just have like one laser if you want, one shield. One other thing that would avoid the issue of having to allow multiple of them to exist on the in the robot here. But on the other hand, I could just like literally make two of them and make one be called like left laser gun and one be called right laser gun. That might actually solve the whole thing without having to get parts attaching working in code. I would have to animate each of the different things individually, but I'll probably end up with better animations, even though it takes a bit longer. What have we got here? I've got a little under 20 minutes left of until this timer goes off when I said I should finish up. I'll probably be getting too tired to actually code, so I don't know if I'll be amusing to watch or not, but I'll be wrecked for the whole of next week if I don't get at least some sleep. All right, so what do we got? Yes, here. So we've got on drop for this type of mount point. We've got that bit. We don't want a command brush here, but we want a RoboPart card there. Yes, And so that will be a RoboPart card, and we'll just rename that to the, I think I'll call it RoboPart card. So it's a good idea when you're coding to call things what they are. And sometimes in this context, we've got like one RoboPart card. There aren't multiple different cards, so it's just the RoboPart card that is relevant for this context. Call a spade, and then when you read your code later, you won't get too confused. Gets a little trickier than that when you've got maybe you've got an old and a new version of something. Like you've got, here's the existing one, here's the new one that I'm making based on that. Then you've got to distinguish them. But yes, naming is hard. Naming things well is hard. You can always think of a name. Just open a book, point to a word, there's a name. But yeah, naming things well so the code is possible to understand, that's something that takes time. And there's usually also, if you like in my day job, I will, working on a team, working on code that's been being written since before I was there to sort of guide people with code reviews to name things well. Don't listen to me, phone. I'm not talking to you. You'll hit some code that's just like you end up having to sit there with a piece of paper and kind of draw a diagram to figure out what's going on. And then often one of the first things that you'll notice or realize is that like that thing's just named wrong. And so if I just refactor that name, just rename it to something that makes sense for what it actually is, it starts to become a lot easier. That's usually one of the first things you can do with a hard to understand code to make it easier to understand. And then once you understand what things are, you can often start to rearrange things and pull things out into methods and so on. Has no RoboPart card. There we go. So after here, we know that RoboPart card is not null. And so we can do something with it. So this will be, attached. Oh, now we want to check if it is the right type of thing for this point. And then if it is, then we will set that part on this point, which means probably like visually, and probably also tell the Blueprint editor about that. And that's like most of what we need when I actually write that code. Or this, the only other thing we'll need is a way for it to be highlighted, and that would probably just be a method in the Blueprint editor that is triggered from the RoboPart card when it's picked up. So the RoboPart card will say, hey, editor, this is what type of mount point the dragged thing needs. And the editor will go, cool, I will tell all of the mount points, this is what type of mount point is active now. And then the mount point can highlight or not, depending on what it's heard about. That is not how you spell right. The rig. Is it the rig type of thing? RoboPart. That is a RoboPart of type RoboPart, yes. Mount point. Is that called mount point type in there? That's what it's suggesting, but that's not what it's called. Not all that clever, are you? I guess if it's not equal to that, then we know we've got like an incompatible part dropped. Just a nice message here. It's going to be the part name of that. There we go. And yeah, I'll probably end up with another enum that's all of the mount points, and each of those mount points will have a type. So somehow those will be associated. Is it C# or Java where the enums can have extra properties attached to them? I think Java, because they have to be objects. But I forget. What is this one? What are you suggesting here? Use try get component into Z. Yes, I should get around to using that. Just for memory purposes. Anyway, we want to return, in that case, it's a guard. It'd be nice if there was a, does this return anything? It's void. So I could actually do this, I think. Like, can I? Or just not? Since onDrop returns void. Oh yeah, so basically it's like, if you return void, then that means you can't have anything after your return statement. I wonder if it were to return, like, can you return null, like as opposed to void? Where like you have a return value, but it's just always going to be null. Maybe. Anyway, it's irrelevant. Not useful at this point. So what's the difference with try get component though? Does it throw or something? Oh right, it needs an out variable. I'll sort that out later. Wait, is there a fix for me? If that try that. Okay, so if it doesn't get a component, then not, and then we've got this out there. What's available here? Okay, that's fine. That works. Decent pattern. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I use this pattern a fair amount, where it's annoying that I can just have like a guard that's like, if not something return. So just like nice and concise on one line. But if I want to add in a logging line there, I need to kind of add a block. So I've got to add the curlies at least. And it doesn't, work as nicely, but oh well. It's just aesthetic. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, what are we doing here? At this point, we know that it is the right type of part. So now we are going to set it. Now, this mount point, I think I'm going to have, like, I'm going to be able to have an image on it, which I think should be the same size as that. Well, it doesn't have to be, as long as it's got that preserving, as long as it's got preserve aspect, it should be fine if it's a different size. But let's just say we make it the same size. I could even make that a sensible size, couldn't I? 160 by 100. That seems good. So, yeah, so I can have this mount point itself, and it can have an image there, which I'm just going to put nothing in there at the moment and just make it oops, just grab some color. Let's get that, make it yellower, make it semi-transparent, and make this a little smaller, a little more snug on there. I think I might have just heard something. Could have been somebody getting home. There we go, and now I'll hide that. And now I can add a child. I'll see if I add a child UI image here. Give that no sprite, not enabled, but that 160 by 100 size, and what do I want to do here? So no sprite right now. Oh wait, I don't get preserve aspect on here. Do I need to actually have an image set in there to preserve aspect? Like, if I do that, I can preserve aspect. But then if I go change it to something else, like the shield, it might not. That kind of will. I'm not sure if that's going to work at runtime. This one might need to be flipped, which I can probably just do to this image. Really, so I just take the what I want, the X scale to -1 for this particular one. So yeah, and in that image, I would probably just move so can I have it like attached to the right? And then like position it like that. What would 0 look like? That would be the pivot of that. And I do need to play around with these pivots, right? Because if that's got a pivot just here, then that would make sense to attach the pivot to the mount point. So actually I should center that on there. And then like so. Then if I go and edit this thing, like just select that little one, grab a pivot, put it here. Also, that will do. Apply that and apply again. Now, will that make that behave differently? Point sub image here and pivot. Whoa, that's interesting. What's that doing to that? It's like putting the image there. I probably didn't just set that pivot for the image there. So what's that? What's that do? That basically is just, oh, I see. Sort of moving them in opposite directions, right? So does that mean, wait, why would I do that? Hey, what am I actually moving here? Interesting. Just playing around here. So the pivot of this rect transform is in the middle. And we're centering it. So we're centering that on here. So naivety of how rect transforms work exactly is let's set the pivot, the X pivot at 0. And set it at 1. So it seems like this rect transform is putting its pivot in the center of its parent, because I did that. Oh, there's my 1 hour. So if I said that, it'll put it on the left of that. But it's just oh, and then set that back to 0. Then it ends up with that on the left of that. But the image component, which is a child of that rect transform, oh, it's this -1 scale, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, the -1 scaling on it is making weird things happen when I do that. So that's interesting. But that's fine. Look, I'm not going to worry about that being attached in just the right spot for now, because that's sort of about out of time, and I also want that image to be not enabled. But let's get this thing happening. So we've got 2 image components here. And so I think I want to grab those on start. Yep, that's all I need. Oops. haven't quite got the hang of exactly what the minimum thing I can type is that gets tool filled in for me. Not too relevant. Yeah, I've just realised I'm cold, and I carried some nice fluffy Ugg boots in here. I carried them because I didn't want to wake anyone up while I was tiptoeing out to go and start the stream. And I did not put them on my feet. So that's funny. And now my toes are cold. That's another reason to finish up the stream around now anyway. It's starting to get cold. If I start feeling cold, then it generally means the stream's gone a bit long. But anyway, let me just try and quickly get this going now. What do I want to do? I need to get a couple of images. So we've got image, which is our own image. So this is the highlight image. Why did you do that? Add another image. Don't do that. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now, this is the part image. Okay. And I think I also might want to save that part. Do I want to? Or do I want the parent thing to do that? No, let's save the robo part, which is a robo part. So then I probably want that to be public. So it can be set from, based on whatever factory is selected. Have it set from a blueprint. So, yep, just make it public for now. All right. And get component image. Simple there. And component in children. Now, does that work like in parent, which does the same object as well? If so, I'll need to just find the child and then do that. Alt O, hey, to get documentation. Oh, interesting. So what that has given me here is some stuff. So I've got that. Yeah. And I've got some examples. Okay. What about what I actually need? Would that be any good? Got that? No. I could probably do something to download documentation. This is interesting. So I've got this open at get component in parent, but let's just click back. Interesting because of the fact that it was component selected. Which version have we got here, by the way? I think I've got that, or the one before it. Unsupported. Maybe I don't have that. doesn't matter. They wouldn't have changed this from the previous version here. On the same game object as the component specified and any parent. Same game object, so that's not what I actually want. I want in children and not parent. And include an active. Is there a way to do that without including the current one? Oh, this is get components in children as well. So I want the singular get component in children. But I don't quite want that. Let me just try this. Yeah, without the parent. This is somebody who's thinking along the same lines as me. Yes, there is a way to do it, but it's not using that. And a setting for each transform in transform. Yeah, so you can iterate the children via the transform. But that only gets you the top level. So basically you would need to kind of call that on each of these transform game objects. So yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, that's getting way too complicated for what I'm looking for. Like, I literally just have a component, a child called image. So I think I really just need to do something like get child, and like transform. Like, I literally just need to get child 0. And then get the image component out of it. And that is going to work fine for the moment. And so now, yes, feels like that took a very long time for me to just get a couple of image components. And the point here is, so there's the highlighting, that'll use the highlight image, but here we can do a few things. I've actually got there we go, I can do it in this component as well, so that's why I've got this robo part. That's going to be equal to the robopart card.robopart. And then to set it visually, we're going to take our part image and set the sprite on that to be the card dot sprite property, and we want to tell the blueprint editor which that's going to be a to do. So we could do it like as like a singleton, as like what do we call it? Blueprint editor dot instance dot set mount part, and then we'll have the mount point, which at the moment I'll just do a type of mount point, but I'll have to replace that with the actual mount point ID. There's like the types of mount point, like arm and leg, but then they'll need a specific ID. But let's send the current mount point type and the robo part like that. It could also just set its own robo part and then like call that. So we don't have that. Excuse me. So just go here. This is going to be one of those is the instance. And yep, that can have get an internal set and on start or on awake. Do we want to do that? Let's do it on awake. We're basically going to go instance equals this, and then actually we'll do so if there's no instance, then we just set the instance. Otherwise, we actually want to that's what I want. Cool. Yep, that'll do. So yeah, now this is basically a singleton, so that we can just call the instance field on the type, and we'll get back an instance as long as there is one. And that's one part of it. And another part of it that we want is this mount part method. So let's just generate a stub for that. And just go to there. And instead of that, let's just log a warning to say not implemented. There, make it work here. So that'll let us know that we're actually calling that anyway. And I can even just log the things here. There. All right, so basically we'll implement that later. So that might work now. Oh, gotta enable the relevant things. So when something gets dropped on it, we've got all this stuff here, and just realized I'll have to have a way to remove a part. You could just have like nothing on a slot. Or maybe just have to have something and have standard, like, nothing parts. It's like a blank blank panel or something. Okay. Part image dot sprite. Now we can enable, disable a game object. How do we do the particular component? So you can enable and disable the whole game object, but cool. Looks like we've got someone asking the question, but also just a Unity learn enabling and disabling components. Yeah. The mono behavior has an enabled property. So it's just enabled. There. So yeah, this will be disabled and then just switch to enabled, which is fine. And yes, it's the sprite to the right thing. Does that work even if it's not enabled? We'll find out. Okay, I think that's everything I need for that to work. The enabled equals true. That's exactly it. I'm used to doing the whole thing, like the whole game object, in which case it's kind of like set active. So what happened then? that thing went back to there, which I expected. Anything on the console? We got a begin drag and an end drag, but we didn't get a drop on there. And there's a reason for that, and that's because the mount point is not actually a drop target, even though it should be. And also, I'm aware that this whole thing is has robots in front of it. I'll just try moving it a bit closer to the camera, see if that fixes it. Not too worried about that at the moment. Okay, so this mount point, if that image is not enabled, then it won't work as a drop point. So I'm just going to leave it highlighted for now, because that's one way that will make it kind of work as a drop target, I guess, as a raycast target for the purpose of drop. So I should also have my mouse over this. Okay. So begin drag for RoboPart card. On drop for arm. So that's coming from this mount point UI. We've got our on drop. Null reference exception happening right here. And that's because probably this RoboPart card, based on it not being defined here, I'm pretty sure this RoboPart card does not have a RoboPart associated with it. So I'll just go to my RoboParts here, grab that laser, like so, and drop that there. And now we'll see what happens when we've actually wired it up properly. And then I think I can call it a night. Unfortunately, I've let it get late enough that I kind of want more food. And that food tends to be cakes or something. Look at that, it got attached. And have we got something in the console? Another null reference. This time, it's on that blueprint editor. Have I got a blueprint editor? Here is the blueprint editor. No, that's a robot. Here is the blueprint editor. And missing monoscript. So what's happened there is I renamed this. So it's basically trying to refer to the script that used to be there in the other place. The move didn't work properly. I'll just remove that script. And we should be all good. With that one, just save the scene. Might as well save the project. There, so the only bit that was missing there was logging the that editor. So yeah, we've got that cleared. We can grab this and drop it there. And we got a begin drag, we got an on drop, an end drag, and we've got mount part being called, and that should be logging a warning. Apparently I have 3 warnings being logged, but I was filtering them out. So that's cool. We got So that's interesting. Dot parent. Consider using set parent method instead with world position stays. Argument set to false. It'll retain local orientation and scale rather than world orientation and scale, which can do what? Which can prevent common UI scaling issues. Well, I'm not scaling this UI, so it's not really going to be an issue. Mount part is not implemented, called with ARM laser gun. Yes, the ARM gets the laser gun, and I'm just going to make those. Here we've got mount point. I'm going to rename this to mount point type. And the reason for that is that I want to have another enum called mount point, which is the actual points themselves. So this is going to be like things like left arm, no arm, right arm. Very well done there with the thing. Legs. And yeah, it's going to have like antenna at the top. I don't know why I've done them in reverse order. That's a 1. Sensor 2. That's not how you spell sensor 2 there. Once again, not how you spell 2. Okay, so we've got an antenna. We've got 4 sensors on the face, left and right arms, and we need the backpack. And the legs, and that is all of the actual points. Ugh. Might need somewhere that gets the mount point type for the mount point. I need a way to associate these things with each other. Can I have, just going to remind myself, I'm going to do C# enum with properties, something like that. Okay, we'll have a look at that article then. There we go. Thin language wrapper around Asia. Yep. Enumeration classes that enable a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. interesting. You can now use methods of a static class. Interesting. Anyway, what I want is just a method on its own, but that's fine. Just put it in a class. I'm going to call this mount points. So it's going to be wait, can I use an extension method here? Let's do a switch statement here. And it's going to be on point. Yep, there we go, it's on point. Yeah, let's just add a case and grab all these different things. Yep, that looks good. I'll do sensor one. Really, you don't want to unindent. Okay. Just get all of the different sensor types. They're all sensors. Okay, now left arm, right arm. Magnifier is covering up that. Okay, I got some arms, and then we just got the backpack and the legs. Should cover everything, except for the fact that enums in C# are just a thin wrapper around an integer, which means that technically this does not return a value for all code paths because there's no default case. So yeah, I don't have a like an unknown. Yeah. So what do I want to do here? Basically, I want to definitely have an error. just say it's an antenna. Why that? Because this is not using Unity Engine. System diagnostics. Interesting. Okay, which import has Unity Engine has that debug? There we are. Oops, mount point type dot antenna. There we go. Could be a completely different number between those two. Yes, we are missing a thing there. All right, so I can split this into different files, but essentially we've got the type of mount point, the actual mount point, and a way to get the type of a mount point from that mount point. And that should be all we need. And I didn't go to bed for ages again, did I? So that means that here, instead of like, it's got the type on there, but it's also can have the actual mount point, and we probably don't need the type because we can just look it up. Here we go, and this is where we want to do mount point type here. Mount points get type. Okay, why have I still got this open? It was not that useful. Okay, so I'm getting the type here for that mount point, and yeah, it's got to match the mount point there. Yes, and specific mount point. That's what we want. Let's get rid of that entirely. And then go here and make that. Actually, I could fix that using this thing, right? Probably. No, none of those make sense. So we just want to basically say that's a mount point, not a mount point type that we're expecting. Cool. So now, instead of what we had, if I let the compiler run it, now it should be saying here that it's actually trying to attach like the left arm. But before I run it, I better make sure that I actually attach or set the right thing, because I've effectively lost the mount point that I had for that. It should be left arm. And no RoboPart currently attached. RoboPart card here has got RoboPart, and I'm okay for all these things, right? Like my RoboParts. Point is, yeah, just a type. So that's good. Get that running. Yeah, it can be hard to learn coding, but you don't necessarily need that much gamer only. So, oh, Bernie, who don't have the benefit of being able to see the chat, gamer only says, I also want to be a game developer, but it is hard to learn coding. True. It's one of those things where there's just like so many layers to it. You kind of got to start with the first layer before you can really get to the next layer. But that's not the only way to develop games. I think like I started way back with like Warcraft maps, like Warcraft 2, map editor, StarCraft map editor, and just, they've got sort of a drag and drop thing, and I made some pretty intricate scenarios in there. And yeah, so I haven't learnt pretty much anything about Unreal Engine so far, but yeah, depending on what type of game you're making, there are tools out there that you should be able to put together things with not with either no coding or not much coding. So don't let that stop you, because yeah, and like you can always start with just a pen and paper, right? Like I don't just make these games. I make card games and board games as well. And you don't need any coding for that. You just need to be able to put a pen on a bit of paper. But you don't even need that, right? If you can draw digitally, print things out. Looks like that's attached. The bit I was just going to check is this. We've got the begin drag, we've got on drop for left arm, and drag for RoboPart card. And here that's being logged as a warning. No, this is the one. So we're called with left arm laser gun. So that is sort of technically the robot's right arm, perhaps. But let's ignore that. Yeah, it all depends what you're trying to do. And I've been coding for years, so that's like the easiest tool for me to reach for. Like it's easier for me to write a bit of code usually than it is to figure out what tools are available to make something happen. But yeah, still, like there are options there depending on what you're trying to make. Like if you're trying to make a first-person shooter, you might need like zero coding. You might just be able to get an already working first-person shooter and just go in and like change skins and things like that to and tweak numbers and get what you want. RPG Maker probably if you want to make an RPG. Various things like that. I don't know a lot of the details about a lot of those things because there's no mount point here, so that's going to be useless. I just want to, let's make it dual wield some lasers quickly. So I'll just make a prefab out of this. Mount point here. Put that in prefabs. there. So that we can drop one just here or so. Want that to be like in there. There. This. I hope that that doesn't break by moving that out to. Okay, let's leave that there for now. But what has happened? Is this thing got? Okay, I know what happened. I think I know what happened. Yeah, let's just delete the name instead of deleting the actual thing. So I think I needed to drop that prefab to get the sizing right. I needed to drop it here so that it would start out with the appropriate sizing. And it's actually also got the appropriate positioning for the other one. So just bring it over there instead. And yeah, what else does it need? It needs this image to have a scale of 1 instead of -1. And it's probably everything. Oh, it'd be nice if that image were like the opposite pivot. Like, no, that does not help. The opposite pivot and there's a thing. There, that prevents the counter adjusting that was happening. No. Still gave me that, but it doesn't matter. Let's just do that. There we go. So that's the other way around. And also just need to set that one to be the other arm. Or should we leave that one as left arm and call the other one right arm? Let's do that. The robot is facing us. So that's when I learned surgery, the patient on the table is going to be like in some kind of orientation. Depending on the species, they'll either be on their back or on one side or the other. And so before that, I knew left and right. And after that, the whole thing was just sort of thrown into question. Like left wasn't necessarily left anymore because I had to do the 3D rotation of patient on table who also is underneath drapes. Or potentially underneath drapes. So then, you kind of have to do that, flipping things around in your head to get to the right location, so you don't amputate the wrong thing or something like that, or go digging around on the wrong side, looking for a liver on the wrong side or something. And liver's not a good example. They're like everywhere. They're big. They take up a lot of space. But yeah, ever since then, I mix up left and right easily because I still kind of feel like I should confidently know it. And so whatever I reach for seems like that must be right because I thought of it so quick. But half the time it's wrong. Especially if I'm driving, so I'm concentrating on something else. Okay, let's wait. Let's see if we can get laser arms. If I just stay up a little bit later, I could make a shield and have that be able to be attached. This doesn't quite work yet because there's no way for it to actually get into the recipe, like the blueprint in here. But there we go. Laser arms bot. That's a good place to finish it up here. And we should have got logging for separate arms. I may not have cleared that before. Really need to change those to set parent so they don't keep generating all these warnings. Because I want to be able to see my warnings. So we got left arm laser gun and right arm laser gun. Fantastic. It's coming along. Just make sure everything's saved. And I'd better end the stream there. I'll add the shield next time. And I need to add the legs and everything else. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Interesting conversations. And tune in next time with more coding questions because I took all the time to learn it. Might as well make use of it in more ways than one, in as many ways as I can. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening or day or whatever it is. And I will see you in, I think, 2 days. I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Check the schedule. But I think it's 2 days. Bye for now.